Today I'm going to show you a piano exercise that changed the way I play, and it really improved my playing and elevated my playing to the next level. And I call this piano exercise the bloody finger exercise. I'll tell you, there's a little story behind this. It's not that funny, but it's an interesting story. I learned this exercise first year university when I was studying with Mark Anderson in UBC, School of Music. And I think just the first couple of lessons in, he showed me this exercise and I learned it, and then I thought it was really cool. I took it home and then I worked through it in the practice room, and I just remember how difficult it was to get through the whole thing. And obviously I couldn't get through the whole exercise, the first couple of tries or even maybe a couple of months. And it was just so difficult. It's like planking. Like I don't know if you do planking. Sometimes I do planking, and it's, if you do planking, like after like a minute, 2 minutes, it just starts to hurt a lot. It just starts to get really tiring, and your muscles starts to tense up, and you're sweating, but it's all good for you. It's all good for the building the muscle, but it's just so painful, right? And this is exactly the same thing I experienced when I was doing this exercise. It's painful in a good way, not like it hurts, but it's like painful mentally and a little bit physically, and it was tiring, but I know it's for the greater good. And that's why after doing these exercises, I remember I emailed him that day at the practice room. I emailed him, this is an exercise that made my fingers bleed. That's what I emailed him. This is an exercise that made my finger bleed, and then I think from then on I just called it the bloody finger exercise. And not to be rude, but that's the name that stuck with me. I wonder if this is the name that stuck with him, but I think he got a good laugh out of that. The reason why this exercise is so good is because it works on a couple of things. The first thing it works on is it works on your stretching. If you have small hands, this is going to be a great exercise for you. You might not like it a lot, but it's going to be a great exercise for you. It really works on your stretching, especially within these little areas between the fingers. Second thing is, obviously, it works on your speed and your dexterity. If you wonder how people get up and down the keyboard so fast, those are the kind of exercises that people do. Third thing that it does, it works on your chords, especially 7th chords. And this is how I was able to get so familiar with 7th chords and eventually, pick up jazz, because, jazz, a lot of the foundation of jazz is 7th chords. And this is one of the places where I got a lot of training in 7th chords. And all in all, it's a great warm-up exercise. It pumps a lot of blood into your fingers. And granted, you're not going to enjoy it the best, but this is going to be an exercise just like planking that's really going to build up your muscles, build up your dexterity, build up your speed, and build up your strength. Let's get right to it. I'm going to play it for you once first, and then we'll talk about it. It's a little bit rusty, but you get the point. So the whole concept of this is a 7th chord arpeggio. If you go through the classical, repertoire, RCM, exams like that, you will have practice 7th chord arpeggios like dominant 7th, things like these, or diminished 7ths. Pretty sure that's part of the repertoire. Basically, the concept here is very similar. It's 7th chord arpeggio, both hands up and down. I do it for 4 octaves. Basically, you go 6 runs up and down, and every single run, you change the chord quality. And eventually, you're going to exhaust all the combinations of 7 chords, and then the last chord brings you nicely to a half step up, which then you repeat the process. And the chords, they go like this. The first chord you do is a major 7th. Major 7th chord. Major 7th chord again is a C. Well, if you put it on C, it's C, E, G, B. Major tri on the bottom, octave, major 7th. That's the first chord. That's the first pass by. You go up and down, both hands. And then the next one The second one is a dominant 7th. You drop the major 7th down a half step to get minor 7. So you have major triad, minor 7. That's the second one. The third one, it's a minor 7th, minor 3rd, and a minor 7th. What you do is you just drop that major 3rd down a half step. Okay, that's your third one. The fourth one is you drop your 5th down a half step, which brings you to a C minor 7 flat 5 or a C half diminished 7th. Right? Last one you do, well actually second last one you do, is you drop the 7th down another half step, you get a diminished 7th, and this is your C diminished 7th. Right? And then one more thing you do is you drop that 7th that you dropped, which is now a 6 now if you count it literally with proper theory. You drop it down a half step, you get a minor 6, and this is all of a sudden not a C chord anymore, but an A flat dominant 7th. If you rearrange the notes, here's your A flat dominant 7th, but now you have C on your bass, and you do that once. And if you're a theory nerd, you know that this A flat dominant 7th leads to D flat. So you go, and then now you're on D flat, you're a half step up, and then you restart the whole cycle. D flat major 7th, and then dominant 7th, minor 7th, minor 7 flat 5. Oh, this is where it gets really difficult. Diminished 7th. And then you treat that bottom note as a leading note to your next key. The last one you did was D flat diminished 7th, right? You drop it down a half step. Now you get A7. Leading note to 1, 7th, 1, and you start the process. Rusty fingers. So that's basically how it works. Now, the reason why this is difficult, and you may have noticed a little bit too, is the fingering of this exercise is difficult. Not that it's difficult to remember, because really, I just use the same fingering throughout all the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the top 5 for the right hand. Left hand, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then down, go down. So together, just use all 5 fingers. But now, the reason why this is so difficult, and it's so much like, planking, is when you hit those black keys, or worse yet, when you start on D flat major 7, or E flat, starting on these black keys, you're gonna realize that you have to still use the fingering, but you're gonna realize that it gets so much more difficult because of the stretch between the notes. So that's where your stretch happens. And it's also that your fingers are now sort of like walking on tightropes, because now everything is on the black key and you're so afraid of slipping, like that. But this is gonna be so good for you. So to get you accustomed to playing black keys, and the stretching. So this is why, partly why I hate and I love this exercise at the same time. Now, that's not it, because with that exercise, once you get comfortable with this, is you can add different variations to this. Say, for example, adding the pedal. My professor used to do this with us all the time to make sure we have clean pedal. Hope he's not listening right now. Right? Or you can do dynamics, crescendo, decrescendo. To work on the musicality. You can do right hand louder than left hand. Or vice versa. You can do staccato. Or legato. Or combination. One staccato, one legato. And And obviously you can do it with metronome, you can do it with different rhythms. That's going to be really, really helpful for you, not only just for that exercise, but working on, you know, the staccato, legato, the crescendo, the pedal, the right hand, left hand balance, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I love this exercise, and I also hate it at the same time. I practiced a lot on this back then when I had a lot of time in music school. Okay, a lot of time to practice in music school. Sometimes I used to do all 12 in a day, which takes me a good amount of time. But in days when I don't have that much time, I would usually do 3 or 4 keys at once. And some days when I'm really tight on time, I would just do one. I'll just do one and I'll just move up, starting on the next note the next day. So I'm going to encourage you to do this and pick up this exercise again. If you want to work on your hand stretching, work on your dexterity, your speed, work on your chords, work on your arpeggios, work on everything, this is going to be the exercise that's going to help you the most, and it's probably going to be the one that's the most difficult for you. But anyway, there's no pain, no gain, right? You don't lose weight without, you know, sweating a little bit. You don't build muscles without feeling those pains. So I'm going to encourage you to do that exercise. I'm going to type out this exercise and put the score up on Patreon if you want to follow along with the score. And I encourage you to take a look at that, and you can support me there and support the work that I do, support these videos if you enjoy them. When I end this video, I'm just going to play this exercise the whole way once through, so you can take a look and you can follow along. If you need any more clarification, any more demonstration, leave me a question. If you have them, leave me a comment. If you have them, leave me a like if you enjoy this video, and share this with your piano friends, and hopefully I'll see you next week.